Hey, dreamer. Welcome back. It's so good to have you here. Before we begin, let's get you settled in. Find a comfortable position, let your body sink into the mattress, and take one slow, deep breath in and let it all go. Tonight, we're going to Thornfield. So close your eyes, let go of the day, and let's drift into the story together. There was no possibility that day of taking a walk. The rain had come down since the early morning, and by the afternoon, it had settled into the long, steady sort of rain that does not hurry and does not pass, and seems to belong to the house itself, as though the house had drawn it close around its shoulders for the day. You are here, quietly, in a part of the house where no one is looking. You did not arrive in any particular way. You are simply here, as one sometimes is in a dream, already standing in the room, already at home in the hush of it, with no memory of the door you came through. The house is called Gateshead. It is a large, old house in the north of England, in the year 1800 and something. And it is a Tuesday, and it is November, and it is raining. And none of this matters very much. What matters is the room. The room is called the breakfast room. It is smaller than the drawing room next door, and warmer for being smaller. A fire has been laid in the grate, though no one has come to sit by it. The coals are red beneath a soft gray skin of ash, and now and then one of them shifts, very gently, with a small sound like a page being turned. There is a clock somewhere. You cannot see it from where you stand. And the clock keeps its slow, patient time. And the rain keeps its slow, patient time. And the fire keeps its own time. And somehow, all three sounds fold themselves into one another and become the quiet of the room. There is a bookcase along the far wall. The books are old and bound in cloth and calf, and they are arranged not by color or by size, but by the long habit of being where they are. A volume has been taken down. It rests on the window seat by the curtain. The curtain has been drawn, almost but not quite closed, so that only a fold of red shows where someone has slipped behind it. You move closer. You are very welcome here. The house does not mind. The curtain is a deep, soft red, the red of old wine, or of garden roses just past their best, and it is heavy. The heaviness of velvet that has hung in the same window for many winters. When you brush your fingertips against it, it gives a little, and releases the faintest scent of dust and lavender, and of the long, slow lives of curtains in rooms where people do not often disturb them. Behind the curtain, on the cushioned seat of the deep stone window, a small girl is sitting. She is perhaps 9 or 10 years old. Her hair is dark and quite plain. Her dress is gray. She has gathered up her feet beneath her, in the way a cat will gather itself on a sill, and she is reading. The book is open across her knees, and her chin rests in one small hand, and she is so still and so absorbed that you understand at once that she does not know you are here, and would not mind if she did. She has, for the afternoon, made herself entirely of the window seat, and the curtain, and the book. The book is a book of birds. You can see the page she is looking at. It is an old engraving, black ink, fine lines, of a rocky coast somewhere very far north. The artist has drawn the cliffs and the gray shifting line of the sea, and a single seabird wheeling against a sky of cross-hatched cloud. Beneath the picture, in small letters, there is the name of a place you have never heard of. The girl is not reading the name. She is simply looking at the picture. Her eyes move very slowly from the cliffs to the bird and back to the cliffs. And she does not turn the page for a long time. You let her have her book. You turn instead to the window. The glass is old and slightly uneven, so that the world beyond it is gently distorted, the way a memory is distorted when you try, years later, to bring it back. There are panes of clear glass and panes that have grown a little cloudy at the edges, and the rain runs down all of them in slow, wandering lines, taking its time, finding its way. You watch one drop for a long while. It hesitates near the top of the pane, and then slides, and then stops, and then slides again, and at last joins another drop, and they go down together, and you forget which one you were watching. Beyond the glass, the lawn lies wet and gray. It is the kind of November lawn that is not so much green as the memory of green. The grass is flattened in places by the weight of the rain. A few last leaves cling to the shrubbery beyond it, and a few more turn, in their own slow time, along the gravel of the path. There is a low stone wall at the edge of the garden, and beyond that wall, a field, and beyond the field, a soft gray nothing, where the mist has settled in for the afternoon. You cannot tell where the field ends and the sky begins. The two have agreed today to be the same color. A rook calls somewhere, once, then not again. You return to the room. The girl has not moved. She has turned the page now, very quietly, and is looking at another picture, a small boat, a wreck, a moon behind cloud. The pictures in her book are not happy pictures, but she does not seem troubled by them. She looks at them the way you might look at the rain, with a kind of peaceful attention, as though they belong to her, and she belongs to them, and neither of them is asking anything of the other. The fire shifts again. A coal slips, very softly, into ash. On a low table near the hearth, someone has left a piece of needlework. The hoop is small, the linen pale, the thread a faded blue. A needle has been stuck through the cloth and left there, as though whoever was working at it was called away, gently, and meant to return, and has not, and may not for some time. Beside the hoop is a small china cup, empty but for a curl of cold tea at the bottom, and beside the cup, a folded newspaper that no one has unfolded. You like this. You like the small, unfinished things that have been left in the room. There is a habit old houses have, of holding the day suspended, of letting the cup and the needle and the newspaper stay exactly where they were, as though the afternoon has paused for breath and not yet drawn the next one. The clock keeps ticking. The rain keeps falling. The girl keeps reading. But the room itself is not in any hurry. The room has decided, for this hour, that nothing more need happen. You move, soundlessly, toward the bookcase. The spines are worn at the tops where small hands have pulled them down, and worn at the bottoms where they have rested for years on the shelf. There is a Pilgrim's Progress the color of old leaves. There is a Gulliver's Travels with a torn ribbon for a bookmark. There is a Bible, very large, with brass clasps. And there are several volumes of sermons that no one, you suspect, has opened for a long time. The smell of the shelves is the smell of old paper and old polish, and the faintest ghost of cedar. You do not take anything down. There is no need. The books are content where they are. The window pane brightens, very faintly, and dims again. A break in the cloud, perhaps, far off. You cannot see the sun, but for a moment the rain on the glass turns silver, and the wet lawn turns silver, and the small girl behind her curtain is gilded along one cheek. And then the cloud closes again, and the room returns to its gray. It is, you realize, growing late. You have not heard a clock chime. The clock here keeps its sound to itself. But the light has shifted by some small degree, and the shadows of the chair legs have lengthened just a little along the carpet. Somewhere, deeper in the house, a door closes. Somewhere further, a kettle is set on a stove. These sounds reach the breakfast room only faintly, the way sounds reach you when you are falling asleep, as rumors of a world still going on somewhere, without needing your attention. You go back, once more, to the window. The rain has not stopped. The rain will not stop, you understand, for a long while yet. It will rain through the dusk, and through the supper hour, and through the lighting of the lamps, and through the hour at which the girl in the window seat is at last called away to bed. It will rain after that, too, on the roof, and on the gravel, and on the wet, soft lawn, and on the low stone wall, and on the field beyond, and on the mist that has settled in for the night. You will not be here for that. You will have drifted on by then, gently, somewhere else. But for now, for this last quiet moment of the afternoon, you stay. You stay with the fire that does not need tending, and the clock that does not need winding, and the cup that does not need filling, and the small girl who does not need anything at all, only the curtain drawn nearly closed around her, and the book open across her knees, and the picture of a far northern coast where the sea moves slowly under a moon she has never seen. The rain goes on, soft and steady, against the old glass. The house breathes slowly in the dark, and the afternoon, in its own time, lets itself go. The road is a long one, and the morning is very early, and the world has not quite decided yet whether it is awake. You are traveling. You do not remember beginning to travel, only that you have been traveling for some time. The coach moves slowly along a country road, and you are inside it. And outside the window, the cold land turns past you in its own slow time. And the wheels make a soft, regular sound on the wet stones. And the horses breathe out small clouds of warmth into the gray air. It is January, you think, or perhaps the very last days of December. The kind of morning when the year itself seems to be sleeping in. The coach is old. The leather of the seats is cracked at the edges and worn smooth in the middle. And somewhere a buckle clinks gently against itself with the rhythm of the wheels. There is a thick traveling rug folded across your knees, the wool of it rough and warm, smelling faintly of wood smoke and of the cupboard it was kept in. The window beside you has a little frost along its lower edge, a soft white lace of it, where the cold of the glass has met the warmth of the inside, and the two have negotiated, gently, all night. You wipe a small, clear circle with the side of your hand and look out. The road is bordered by low stone walls. The walls are dark with the night's rain and patched with moss, and they run beside the road for a long way before turning, very gradually, into hedges. And the hedges run for a long way before turning, very gradually, into trees. There is no hurry to any of it. The land has the patience of land that has been here a long time and means to be here a long time more. Beyond the walls, the fields lie quiet under a pale skin of mist. The mist is not thick. It is the kind that gathers in the low places, in the hollows where streams run, in the dips between rises, against the bases of the hedges, and leaves the higher ground clear. You can see, here and there, the dark shape of a tree standing alone in a field, and a small flock of sheep gathered at the foot of it, very still, very white, like a thought someone has had and not yet finished. Now and then a rook lifts from a hedge and turns once in the air, and settles again somewhere a little further on. The horses go on at a walk. The coachman does not press them. There is nowhere, in this part of the morning, that anyone needs to be in a hurry to reach. You let yourself sink a little deeper into the rug. Inside the coach there is no one to speak to. There may have been another traveler, once, earlier. There is a faint dent in the seat opposite, where someone might have sat, but they have gone now, set down at some quiet inn while you were not paying attention, and you are alone, and the coach is your own small, warm room, and the road is unrolling slowly outside the window, like a long gray ribbon being drawn through the world. The wheels turn. The buckle clinks. The horses breathe. The road climbs very gently for a long while. You are not climbing into anything dramatic. There are no mountains here, only into the soft, slow hills of a northern county, where the land lifts and falls in long, shallow folds, the way a blanket falls when it is shaken out and allowed to settle. As the coach climbs, the mist drops away beneath it. You can see further now. You can see, far below, the white roof of a barn, and beyond the barn, the dark line of a wood, and beyond the wood, more fields, fading softly into the morning. A church tower stands somewhere in the distance, square and gray, holding up its small piece of sky. The road turns, and a stream appears beside it. The stream is narrow and dark and very calm. It moves at exactly the pace of the coach, or rather, the coach moves at exactly the pace of the stream, and for a long time the two of them keep one another company. You watch the water. It curls, sometimes, around a stone. It pauses, sometimes, in a little pool. Once or twice it slips beneath the road through a stone arch you cannot see, and reappears on the other side, unhurried, untroubled, the same dark water it was before. The sound of the stream comes faintly through the window. It is the sound water makes when it is not in any hurry to be a river. You doze a little, perhaps, against the corner of the seat. When you look out again, the country has changed. It is wilder now, in a quiet way. The walls have given out, and the hedges have given out, and the road runs along the edge of a broad, open ground, where the grass is rough and pale, and the bracken stands red-brown from the autumn just past. The light is different, too. The mist has thinned. The sky has gone from gray to a softer pearl color, and somewhere behind the cloud, the sun is making itself faintly known, not as light exactly, but as the suggestion of light, the way a candle in another room will warm the doorway. The road bends, and there, at the bottom of a long, slow slope, you see it. The school. It stands a little way back from the road, in a hollow of ground, with low hills folding gently around it. It is a long gray stone building, 2 stories high, with many small windows and a slate roof that has gone soft with moss along its northern edge. There is a wall around the grounds and an arched gateway, and a name carved into a stone above the gate, the letters of which have been worn smooth by 100 winters of weather. You do not need to read the name. You know where you are. The coach slows. It does not stop, exactly. It only slows, the way a thought slows when it is no longer urgent. And the horses come to a quiet halt beneath an oak tree just inside the gate. The coachman climbs down. He does not call out. He does not knock at any door. He simply stands beside the horses for a moment and pats one of them along the neck, and then walks away down the gravel drive, and you do not see him again. You are here. You step down from the coach. The gravel is wet beneath your feet, and the air is colder than you expected. A clean, thin cold, the cold of high places. And the smell of the air is the smell of stone, and of damp grass, and of wood smoke drifting from a chimney somewhere out of sight. It is very quiet. The school, you understand, is asleep. It is the hour between supper and bedtime, perhaps, or perhaps the hour after the children have already gone up to their dormitories. You cannot tell, and it does not matter. What matters is that no one is in the courtyard. No one is at any of the windows. A single lamp burns in a downstairs room at the end of the building, behind a curtain so thin you can see the shape of the flame. And another lamp burns above a doorway at the side, casting a small pool of yellow light onto the wet flagstones. You walk slowly toward that door. The door is heavy and dark, and it has been left, you find, a little ajar. Not enough for anyone to notice, only enough for a quiet visitor to slip through. You slip through. Inside, the corridor is long and stone-floored and very plain. The walls are whitewashed, and the ceiling is low, and the lamps along the wall have been turned down for the night. Only the smallest blue point of flame in each, just enough to see by. The corridor smells of wax and of soap, and of the faint, clean smell of clothes that have been washed in hard water and dried by a fire. Your footsteps make no sound at all. You pass a door, and behind it, very quietly, you hear the sound of a clock ticking. You pass another door, and behind it, the small flutter of a turned page. A teacher, perhaps, reading by the last of her candle. You do not open the door. You leave her to her book. The corridor turns, and there is a staircase, wide and stone, with a worn wooden banister, and you climb it slowly. The stairs creak in their own small, comfortable way. The smell of soap fades, and the smell of old wood takes its place. And somewhere far above, a wind moves softly against the roof. At the top of the stairs is the dormitory. It is a long, low room, with a row of small beds along each wall, perhaps 30 in all. The beds are made of plain, dark wood, and the blankets are gray, and each blanket is folded down at exactly the same angle, the way only an old institution can fold a blanket. Above each bed is a small shelf, and on each shelf, a small pile of carefully kept things: a comb, a Bible, a folded handkerchief, sometimes a little wooden box. The room is lit by a single lamp at the far end, turned very low, and by the pale square of a high window where a piece of the night sky shows through. The children are sleeping. You do not look closely at any of them. It does not seem the kind of room in which one ought to look closely. You only notice, in passing, the soft shapes of their breathing, the slow rise and fall of gray blankets, the small turned cheek on a pillow, a hand lying open beside a face, the fingers half curled around nothing. There must be 30 children in this room. Together they breathe the way a wood breathes at night. Many small breaths, all going on in their own time, all somehow making one long, slow breath of the room itself. You stand at the window. It looks out over the back of the school and the kitchen garden and the low hills beyond. While you have been inside, the snow has begun. It is a soft snow. It is the snow that comes at the end of a long gray day, when the air has been thinking about it for hours, and at last has made up its mind. The flakes are large and slow. They turn as they fall in the small yellow light from the lamp above the kitchen door. They settle on the cabbages in the garden, and on the low stone wall, and on the slate of the woodshed roof, and on the dark earth of the path between the beds. They do not hurry. They do not need to. The kitchen garden grows whiter by slow degrees. Behind you, the children breathe. Somewhere in the building, a clock strikes a small, soft hour. Not a deep bell, only a single light note, as though the clock itself were trying not to wake anyone. And the note hangs in the air for a moment, and then is gone, and the snow goes on falling. You stay at the window for a long while. You watch the snow fill in the lines of the garden, the path becoming a soft, pale stripe between the beds, the cabbages becoming small white shapes, the wall becoming a long, low ridge of white running into the dark. You watch the lamp above the kitchen door tremble faintly in a draught, and steady itself, and tremble again, and steady again. You feel the cold of the glass on your face, and behind you, the warmth of the sleeping children, and between the two, the quiet, soft, settling weight of the snow. The house is sleeping. The school is sleeping. The road behind you, with its stone walls and its slow, dark stream and its small white sheep, is sleeping. The snow keeps falling. The clock keeps its small, kind time. The lamp keeps its tremor against the wall. And somewhere in the long northern night, very gently, the whole world settles a little further down into itself and goes on breathing, slowly, in the dark. The country has softened again. You are traveling once more, though the journey is a gentler one this time. And the road is not the same road, and the season is not the same season. It is October now, perhaps, or the very beginning of October, that long, mild week when the year is not yet truly tired, only thoughtful, and the trees have begun to think about turning, and the evenings are coming earlier than they used to, by small, unhurried degrees. The coach moves at a walk through a country of low hills and small woods. You do not remember boarding it. You only know, now, that you are inside it, and that the seat is comfortable, and that the horses ahead of you are tall and patient and the color of dark chestnut, and that the road winds very slowly between hedgerows the color of late summer, just turning to something else. It is the hour before dusk. The light has gone honey-colored. It lies along the hedges and along the soft flanks of the hills, and it makes the dust of the road glow faintly as the wheels lift it, and it touches the leaves at the very tops of the oaks, so that they look, for this last hour of the day, as though they have been dipped in something gold. Below the oaks, in the shadow, the world has already begun to go blue. There is no other traveler on the road. There is no sound for a long while, but the slow turn of the wheels and the soft fall of hooves, and the small, kind creak of the harness as the horses lean into a gentle rise. Now and then a wood pigeon calls from somewhere among the trees, that low, comfortable, two-note call that belongs to English woods in the autumn, the sound of a bird that is settling in for the night and wants its companion to know. You let the window down a little. The air smells of hay and of leaf and of the slow, cool breath of a stream somewhere out of sight. The road climbs and the country opens. You see, far ahead, the long, soft shoulders of the hills going on into the distance, fold after fold of them, each one a little paler than the last, each one a little more touched by the evening. There are sheep on one of the further slopes, very small, very white, moving as a thought moves when one is half asleep. There is a thin line of smoke from a cottage somewhere in the next valley, rising straight and slow into the still air, and not bending until it has risen a long way. The road bends and a wood begins. It is an old wood. The trees are oaks and beeches mostly, and they stand well apart from one another, the way old trees do, having had their long, quiet argument with one another long ago and settled it. The light comes through them in long, slanted bars. The leaves on the ground are deep and soft and the color of tea, and now and then a single leaf detaches itself from a high branch and falls, in its own time, taking many small turns on the way down, in no hurry at all to reach the rest. The coach passes beneath the trees. The sound of the wheels changes here. The road is softer, a track of beaten earth rather than stones, and the wheels make a long, low hush, and the horses' hooves sound dull and warm, like a careful drum in another room. For a while the world is only this, the slow tunnel of trees, the slant of golden light, the hush of wheels on earth, the smell of leaf and bark, and the faint cool of evening gathering somewhere beneath the canopy. You feel, in this part of the wood, that the journey could go on forever, and you would not mind. But the wood ends in time, as woods do. The road comes out onto a low rise, and the country opens once again, and there, at the bottom of a long, slow slope, in a fold of the hills, you see it. Thornfield Hall. It stands well back from the road, in a wide, soft cup of land. There is a long lawn before it, sloping gently down to where a small lake holds the last of the day's gold. There are tall trees about the house, beeches mostly, and one great chestnut that stands a little apart, vast and slow and dark. And beyond the trees, in the further fields, you can see, very small and very far, the white moving shapes of grazing sheep. The house itself is gray stone. It is not enormous, but it is long, and it has 2 stories and small turrets at either end, and many windows, and a low battlement along the roofline that has gone soft and uneven with weather. Ivy has climbed up one of the gable ends. Only one, as though the ivy too had to think about it for a long while before committing. And the rookery in the high trees behind the house is alive with the slow black movement of birds coming home. A single window on the ground floor is lit. One window, one soft orange square of lamplight, low at the front of the house, where someone has lit a candle, or a lamp, or trimmed a wick that was burning already, and has not yet thought to draw the curtain. The light is very small from here, very far away across the lawn, but it is enough. It is enough to know that the house is awake, in its quiet way. It is enough to know that you are expected. The coach turns in at the gate. The gate is iron, and old, and standing open, pushed back against the stone of the gatepost, and held there by a tall tuft of grass that has grown up around the hinge over many summers. The drive is long and straight, and lined with old lines. The lines have begun, just barely, to turn, a few of their leaves yellow against the rest still green, and the gravel of the drive crunches softly beneath the wheels, the kind of small, steady sound that one could listen to for a long time without growing tired. The horses know they are nearly home. Their ears come forward. Their pace, if anything, slows a little. You pass beneath the limes. The shadows of the trees fall across your face in slow, regular strokes. Light, dark. Light, dark. Like the turning of pages. And you let your eyes close for a moment and feel only the soft cool of those shadows passing, and the small, even rock of the coach, and the deep, settled scent of the autumn evening coming in through the open window. When you open your eyes, the coach is drawing up before the house. It comes to a halt at the foot of a short flight of stone steps. The horses lower their heads. The harness creaks once, softly, and is still. Somewhere up under the eaves, a single rook makes a small, comfortable sound and settles. You step down. The gravel is cool and even beneath your feet. The air is still. There is a smell of stone and of moss and of the smoke of an apple wood fire drifting from somewhere on the far side of the house. The lawn lies gray-green in the dusk, and the small lake at the bottom of the slope has lost its gold now and gone to a deep, quiet pewter. And the rooks are turning slowly above the chestnut tree, and the one lit window glows a little brighter against the darkening stone. The front door is open, not wide, only a little, only the soft, slow inch that a heavy old door opens when it has not quite been pulled closed against the latch. But it is enough. You go up the steps. There are 5 of them. They are worn down in the middle by many quiet feet over many quiet years. You push the door, and it gives, slowly, with a low, comfortable sound, as though the house itself has taken a long, soft breath in. You step inside. The hall is high and dim and very old. Its floor is of black and white stone, set in a pattern of squares, and its walls are paneled in a wood so dark with age it has gone almost black. And overhead, against a beamed ceiling, a brass lantern hangs on a long chain, lit, but turned low. Only one small flame in it tonight, just enough to keep the dark from gathering all at once. The hall smells of beeswax, and of old wood, and of a fire burning, somewhere, just out of sight. A grandfather clock stands against the far wall. It is very tall, and its case is dark walnut, and its face is pale enamel marked with small, careful Roman numerals. Its pendulum swings slowly behind a small glass door. The clock makes the kind of tick that is not really a tick at all, but a soft, deep, patient talk. And between each talk, there is a long, easy moment of silence. The kind of silence in which the whole house seems to be listening. A door on the right stands a little ajar. From beyond it comes the warm flickering of firelight, and the small, clean clink of china being set down on a tray, and the soft, regular sound of knitting needles meeting one another at the end of each row. You move toward the door. You do not push it open further. There is no need. The door has been left, as the front door was left, in that quiet way old houses have of being already prepared for you. You look in. It is a small drawing room, snug as a small drawing room in an old house ought to be. The fire is the heart of it, a low, steady fire of applewood and ash, throwing a kind, even warmth into the room and casting a soft, moving light against the walls. There are 2 armchairs drawn up before the hearth, with a small round table between them, and on the table there is a tea tray, freshly laid, a brown teapot, a little jug of milk, 2 cups of fine old china with faded roses painted around the rims, and a plate of plain biscuits arranged in a slow, careful spiral. In one of the chairs sits an old woman. She is small and round and very neatly put together. Her hair is silver and pinned up in soft loops beneath a small white cap. Her dress is black, with a thin white collar, and a tidy white apron lies folded across her knees. A pair of round spectacles rests halfway down her nose. She is knitting. The yarn is the color of dried lavender, and the needles are small and bright, and they move in her hands with the easy, unconscious rhythm of a thing she has been doing for 50 years and could do now in her sleep. She does not look up when you come in. She is not waiting for you exactly. She is only knitting, and the fire is only burning, and the clock in the hall is only keeping its slow, patient time. And the cat, there is a cat, you only now notice, a large gray and white cat curled on the hearthrug, is only sleeping, with one paw across its nose. The room is warm. The whole house, you understand, has been quietly warming itself for hours, in preparation for nothing in particular, only for the evening, only for the comfortable certainty that the evening will come, and that one ought to be ready for it. The fire has been laid since the afternoon. The lamps have been trimmed since 5. The tea has been brewed for some little time now, and is sitting under its small knitted cozy, keeping itself warm, the way tea will if it is in the right kind of pot. You go in. You sit, very gently, in the empty chair opposite the old woman. She does not turn her head. The cat lifts one ear at the small sound of you, and then lowers it again. The fire shifts. A small spark rises up the chimney and is gone. The needles click softly. The clock taps softly. The cat breathes softly. Somewhere far away, on the other side of the house, a door opens and closes, once gently, and then there is nothing more. You let yourself look around the room. There are books on a low shelf, a few of them, only a few and well used. And there is a small writing desk in a corner with a candle burned halfway down. And there is a window with deep blue curtains drawn against the dusk. The curtains have a faint pattern in them you cannot quite make out. Above the mantel, there is an old painting of a country lane in summer. The kind of painting no one ever quite looks at directly, but which becomes, over the years, part of the very air of the room. The cat stretches one back leg in its sleep, very slowly, and folds it back beneath itself, and breathes out, and is still. The old woman comes to the end of a row. She lowers her knitting into her lap and takes off her spectacles and rubs the corner of her eye very gently with one knuckle. She puts the spectacles back on. She picks the knitting up again. She begins a new row. You watch the needles. You watch the fire. You watch the slow movement of the lavender-colored yarn through her quiet hands. The tea on the tray steams, very faintly, beneath the cozy. The clock in the hall talks and pauses and talks again. The whole of Thornfield Hall, you understand, is doing this. The whole house, from the kitchens below to the long, dark gallery above, from the rook-loud trees at the back to the dim gray lake at the front, is simply sitting, quietly, the way the old woman is sitting. It is breathing. It is keeping its small, even time. It is waiting for nothing, expecting nothing, holding nothing in particular, only being, in its slow stone way, what it has always been. The fire shifts. The needles click. The cat sleeps on. And outside the curtains, beyond the dim glass, the last of the light goes from the lawn, and the rooks settle one by one into the high trees, and the small lake turns from pewter to slate to ink, and the lamp in the one lit window burns on, and the house, in the gathering dark, breathes slowly and slowly and slowly again. The house breathes slowly in the dark. You have left the small drawing room behind you. The old woman is still there, by her fire, with her knitting and her cat and her quiet, patient hands. And she will be there for a long time yet. For the whole of the evening, probably, and most likely for a great many evenings to come. And you have only stepped softly out, the way one steps softly out of a room where someone has just begun, very faintly, to drowse. You are in the hall again. The lantern on its long chain burns on, low and steady. The clock keeps its patient talk. The black and white stones of the floor stretch away in their quiet pattern, and the paneled walls, dark with age, rise on either side of you, and the air smells, as it did before, of beeswax and old wood and a far-off fire. It is late afternoon somehow. You are not sure how this can be. Only a moment ago, it seemed, the dusk was settling on the lawn outside. But in old houses, in dreams, the hours have a way of folding themselves back without notice, and the light that comes in now through the long windows is the soft, slow gold of a quiet October afternoon, and the dust drifts in it, very slowly, as dust will in a room where no one is in a hurry. You begin, with no particular plan, to wander. You move through the hall toward a door on the left. The door is heavy. Its handle is brass and worn smooth at the center by many quiet hands. And when you turn it, it gives with a small, kind sound, the sound a thing makes when it has been opened, in the same way, by the same kind of hand, for 150 years. The room beyond is the library. It is a long, low room with a wood floor that has gone the color of dark honey, and a single deep window at the far end looking out onto a piece of the garden, the corner of a stone wall, the top of an apple tree, the bright blue of a far hill. The room is lined on 3 sides with books. The books rise from the floor to the ceiling. They are bound in leather mostly, calf and morocco. dark green and dark red, and a great deal of soft, worn brown. And the gold on their spines has been rubbed half away, the way gold is rubbed by years of fingers and afternoons. The smell of the library is the smell that all old libraries share, and that no new library has ever quite managed. Paper and leather, and the faint, cool sweetness of old glue, and the dry, warm dust of bindings that have stood quietly together on their shelves for a very long time. There is a long table down the middle of the room. On the table, an atlas lies open. You go to it. The page shows the coast of somewhere northern, a long, ragged line of shore, with small islands scattered down it like seeds, and pale blue sea around them, and the names of places printed in a quiet old typeface no one prints in anymore. There are pencil marks in the margin, soft, faint, made long ago. Small notes that someone made to themselves and meant to come back to, and never quite did. You let your finger rest very lightly on one of the islands. The paper is cool and very smooth. The whole great book breathes slowly in front of you, page after page of countries and coasts, and you understand that you could turn its pages all afternoon and never reach the end of the world it contains. You leave the atlas open, where it was, where it has been. The light from the high window falls in a long pale shaft across the floor. Dust moves in it. You stand for a moment in that shaft of light and feel the soft warmth of it on your shoulder, and watch a single small bright thing, a fragment of something, a tiny scrap of paper or down, drift past you, very slowly, taking many minutes to reach the floor. There is a chair by the window. It is a deep old armchair, upholstered in a faded green velvet, and the cushion has been worn into the shape of someone who is not, at present, sitting in it. A book has been laid, face down and gently open, on the arm. The bookmark, beside it on the cushion, is a length of dark blue ribbon. You do not turn the book over. You do not need to know what it is. You only know that somebody loves it, and has paused in it, and will come back to it. You leave the library very softly. You are in a corridor now. It is a long paneled corridor that runs along the back of the house, and there are several doors along its length, and a strip of pale carpet down the middle of the floor, and tall, narrow windows on one side that look out onto a kitchen garden you cannot quite see, only the soft green of it, low down, beyond the sill. The corridor is very quiet. There is the small, even sound of your own breathing, and beyond that, far off, the slow, patient talk of the clock in the hall. You open the first door on the left. It is a small parlour, a morning room perhaps, used by no one in particular at no particular hour. The walls are papered in a faded pattern of small blue flowers, and the curtains at the window are a soft cream color, and there is a low sofa against one wall with a folded shawl across the back of it. A work basket sits beside the sofa. A piece of mending lies inside, half done, with a needle stuck through it, and a thimble resting in the curve of a wooden spool. The whole room is the color of milk and old paper. The window is open just a little at the top, and the air that comes in is cool and smells of cut grass from somewhere in the garden. Someone, on the other side of the house, has been mowing slowly with a scythe, and the smell of it has drifted in and settled. You stand in the doorway for a long while. You do not go in. You do not need to. The room has been showing itself to you in its quiet way, and now it has done so, and you may move on. The next door is the dining room. It is a larger room, darker, more formal. There is a long mahogany table down the center of it, polished to such a quiet depth that the light from the windows lies on its surface like the light on water. The chairs around the table are tall, with high backs, and they have been pushed in neatly, all alike, each at exactly the same distance from the edge. There is a sideboard along one wall, with 2 silver candlesticks and a glass decanter on a tray, and the decanter holds a finger of something amber that has been there, you suspect, since some quiet dinner long ago. A bowl of apples stands at the center of the table. You go to it. The apples are real and small, and the color of soft red and yellow autumns. Some of them have been freckled by their tree. They smell faintly when you lean close, only faintly, of their own sweetness, and of the cool of the cellar where they have been kept. You do not take one. You only let your fingertips rest, for a moment, against the cool side of the bowl, and feel the smooth weight of the porcelain, and the careful round shape of an apple resting against your hand. You leave the apples to themselves. You climb a stair. It is not the great stair. It is some other, narrower stair, somewhere toward the back of the house, and it turns once on a small landing where a window looks out onto the roofs of the stable yard. The window is leaded, and the panes are small, and a single pane has been mended at some point, with a thin lead strip slightly darker than the rest. You stand at the window for a moment. Down in the yard, a small gray pony stands quietly in the open door of a stall, lipping at nothing, looking at the cobbles. A man in a brown coat is sweeping, slowly, somewhere out of sight. You can hear the small, steady whisper of the broom on the stones. He sweeps for a while, and then stops, and then begins again. You climb on. At the top of the stairs is the long gallery. This is the heart of the upstairs of Thornfield, and the heart, in some way, of the whole afternoon. It runs the length of the south side of the house, a long, long room, with a polished wood floor that creaks very gently when you step on it, and a row of tall windows down one side that look out across the lawn and the lake, and the soft autumn distance beyond, and a row of paintings down the other side, in old gilt frames that have dimmed to a color somewhere between gold and dust. The paintings are mostly portraits. You walk slowly along them. A woman in pale gray silk holds a small dog in her lap and looks past you, gently, toward something on the other wall. A young man in a green coat stands beside a horse and seems, even in his stillness, to be about to laugh, though only a little. Only the corner of the mouth lifts, in a way that you might miss if you walked by too quickly. An old gentleman in a powdered wig sits half in shadow with his hand on a book. A little girl in a stiff blue dress holds an apple, as if she has just been given it and does not quite know what to do with it. None of them seem to mind you. None of them seem to notice you. They are interested only, very slightly, in something a little above your shoulder. Some long-ago window, perhaps, on the far side of the room. The light in the gallery is the warm, slanted light of late afternoon. It falls in long, pale bars across the floor, between the windows, and where it falls, it makes the wood glow a deep, soft amber, and where it does not fall, the floor lies in long, quiet stripes of shadow, and the shadows and the light run side by side down the whole length of the gallery. like rails of a track going somewhere unhurried. The dust drifts in the bars of light. The portraits look gently past you. The floor creaks faintly beneath your feet. You stop for a long while at one of the windows. It is a deep window. The wall of the house is thick, and there is a small wooden seat built into the recess of it, with a faded red cushion. You sit. The cushion gives a little and breathes out the soft smell of an upstairs room in an old house. Clean linen, faint lavender, sun-warmed wool. You look out. Below you lies the south lawn. It is broad and even, and the grass has been newly cut. You can see the faint, pale stripes left by the scythe, running in long, careful sweeps from one end to the other. Beyond the lawn, the ground slopes down to the small lake, which lies very still and holds the soft blue of the sky. And a single white cloud sits at the center of it, perfectly still, as though it had floated down out of the sky a long time ago and decided to live there. At the edge of the lake, a willow. It bends slowly, with no wind at all to bend it, only the long, old habit of bending. Its leaves drift down, one at a time, into the water. The leaves touch the surface and do not sink. They float, very slowly, in small companies of 2 and 3, out toward the center of the lake, where the white cloud sits. Beyond the lake, the country rises away in long, pale slopes, gold and brown and soft late green, into a distance where, at last, the eye cannot follow it any further. A bee, very lost, hums for a moment against the inside of the glass. You watch it. It is large and slow and the color of dark honey, and its small wings make a soft, round, buzzing sound, the sound of something quite content with the warmth of an autumn afternoon. After a moment, it forgets the glass. It turns and bumbles and finds the open part of the window and lifts itself away into the air outside, and goes off, slowly, in a long, unsteady line over the lawn, toward something only it can see. You stay at the window. Somewhere in the gallery, behind you, the floor creaks once, very faintly, the kind of small sound an old wooden floor will make of its own accord, simply because the day has shifted, and the boards have shifted with it. You do not turn. There is no one there. You sit and look out at the lawn and the lake and the willow and the cloud and the far pale hills. The clock in the hall, far below, far away, talks softly and pauses and talks again. You think, perhaps, that you might stay here forever, that you might stay in this window, on this red cushion, with this view of this lawn and this lake and this long, quiet country, and never need to move again. The thought is not urgent. It is only a soft, slow understanding that the window seat is very kind, and the afternoon is very long, and the house, behind you, is keeping its own slow time, and would not at all mind if you stayed. After a while, you cannot tell how long, you rise. You walk back along the gallery, the other way, with the slanted bars of sun crossing slowly over your shoulder. The portraits do not turn to watch you. The floor creaks gently in the same places. The dust drifts in the same slow, bright air. At the head of the stair, you pause. Somewhere far below, a door opens, very softly. A small, kind clink of china. A tea tray being set down on a sideboard. A voice, perhaps, in the kitchens, very faint, saying something to someone, kindly, and at no particular pitch. The sounds of a house preparing its evening, without any urgency at all. The light in the gallery behind you has gone a shade deeper. The bars of sun across the floor have lengthened. The far end of the gallery has begun, in its own slow way, to go to dusk. You stand at the top of the stair and breathe in the long quiet of the upper house. The linen smell of the gallery, the wood smell of the old stair, the faint, warm drift of beeswax rising from somewhere below, and you understand that the day, of its own accord, has begun to fold itself away. The house knows what hour it is. The house is doing what it has done, in this slow stone way of its, every evening for 200 years. The clock in the hall talks, very kindly, in the far distance, and the gallery behind you goes gently on into its own quiet evening, and the bars of light fade by small, unhurried degrees across the polished floor. The house breathes slowly in the dark. The rain has just stopped. It was a soft rain and a brief one, the kind of summer rain that arrives without warning, in the middle of an otherwise warm afternoon, and lasts only as long as it takes for the swallows to find somewhere dry, and then goes again, leaving everything washed and bright and faintly steaming in the returning sun. You are at the side door of the house. You have come out, somehow, by some quiet route through the back of Thornfield, past a pantry and a stone-flagged passage, and a door that stood obligingly half open. You did not particularly choose this door. It was simply the door that opened, and you have come through it, and now you are standing on a low stone step, looking out into the garden, and the whole of the late afternoon lies spread before you, washed and green and very still. The smell of the world after rain rises up to meet you. It is the smell of wet earth and wet stone and wet grass, and the small bright smell of leaves that have been dusty all afternoon and are now clean. There is a smell, too, of warm box hedge, that low green smell that old gardens have, and somewhere behind it, very faintly, the cooler smell of moss on the side of a wall. Beneath it all is the deep, slow smell of the orchard further on, where the apples have been ripening for weeks and have now a faint, sweet drift of cider in their breath. You step down off the stone. The path is gravel, and the gravel is wet, and it does not make the small, dry crunch it would have made an hour ago. It makes, instead, a softer, deeper sound, the sound of small, wet stones pressing very gently into one another beneath your foot. The sound is so quiet that you hear, beneath it, the slow tick of water dripping from somewhere, from a leaf, perhaps, or from the edge of a stone planter, or from the corner of a roof where a small puddle is in no hurry to stop being a puddle. The light is honey. The sun, having come back, has come back at an angle. It is past the height of its afternoon and has dropped a little toward the trees on the western side of the garden, and its light now slants long and gold and warm across the lawn, and turns each wet leaf into a small, slow lamp, and lays a faint, shining glaze on every blade of grass. You walk into the garden. The path goes between two low hedges of box, clipped neatly long ago, and now grown a little soft at the corners, the way old hedges do. The leaves of the box are small and round, and a deep, waxy green, and the rain still sits on them in tiny, clear beads, and as you brush past, one or two of the beads loosen and slip and run together down a leaf and fall, soundlessly, into the soil beneath. The path opens out into the rose garden. It is a small square garden, walled on three sides with old red brick, and the wall is warm even now from a long afternoon of sun. The bricks are the color of late autumn leaves, and they have gone soft at the edges, and in places they have small green tufts of moss growing in the cracks, and along the top runs a soft, uneven line of lichen the color of weak tea. The roses grow against the wall on tall, slow canes, and they have been climbing it, evidently, for many summers. And the wall and the roses by now belong to each other. The roses are at the end of their year. There are still some in bloom, pale ones mostly, soft, creamy ones, and one or two of a quiet pink, and they have opened wide, the way roses do when they know the season is nearly done, with all their petals showing at once. The rain has gathered in the heart of each open flower, in a small, bright drop, and the drops sit there, perfectly still, like something a careful child has placed and forgotten. When a small breath of air moves through the garden, only a small one, the size of a sigh, one of the drops slips, very slowly, out of its rose, and falls, and is gone into the wet earth below. The smell of the roses is the smell of roses after rain, not strong, only present, only floating low in the warm air at the level of your face. You walk along the wall. A bee is at one of the roses. It is the same bee, perhaps, as the bee in the gallery, or some quiet brother of that bee, and it moves slowly from one open flower to the next, in no hurry at all. It is a large bee, soft and round, the color of dark honey and dust, and the small round sound it makes is the sound a garden makes to itself in the middle of summer when there is nobody listening. You let it be. At the far end of the rose garden, a low wooden door is set in the brick wall. It is the color of old wood that has been painted, long ago, a soft green, and the paint has weathered to a paler green still, and in places the bare grain shows through. The door has an iron latch, and the iron has gone the soft brown of long-loved iron, and the latch lifts at the touch of one finger with the smallest, kindest sound. A small clack that is almost a sigh, and the door swings inward, slowly, on hinges that breathe rather than creak. Beyond the door is the orchard. You step through. The orchard is larger than the rose garden, and older and quieter. The grass here has not been mowed for some time, and it grows up around your ankles, soft and wet, and the long stems bend gently against your feet as you walk. The trees of the orchard are old apple trees, and pear trees, and one great quince tree at the further end, whose round yellow fruit hang heavy on their branches, half hidden in the leaves. The apples are everywhere. There are apples on the trees, ripening, small and round and the color of late afternoon. And there are apples in the grass, fallen, where they have rolled a little way from where they fell, and then come to rest in some small grassy hollow. The fallen apples are warm to look at, in the long honey light. A few of them have been touched, very gently, by a wasp or a bird, and they have begun to brown at the edges, and they smell, faintly, of the cider they are slowly thinking of becoming. The smell of the orchard is the smell of warm, wet grass, and apples, and bark. You walk slowly down the center of it. A path of beaten earth runs between the trees, soft now from the rain. And along the path the grass on either side is taller and full of the small yellow heads of late summer flowers, buttercups perhaps, and small clover. And a single white moth lifts from one of them as you pass, and goes a little way, and settles again, and forgets you immediately. Beneath one of the apple trees there is an old wooden bench. It is plain. It has no back. It is only a long plank, set across two simple posts, and the wood of it has gone silver with weather, and the rain has darkened it now to the soft color of pewter. It stands beneath the largest of the apple trees, and the branches of the tree spread low and wide above it, so that the bench sits in a small green room of leaves. You go to the bench. You brush the worst of the rain from the wood with the side of your hand and feel the wet of it cool against your palm. You sit. The wood gives, slightly, the way a long old plank will give beneath the weight of one quiet person. You settle. You look up. The branches of the apple tree hang very low. You can see, from where you sit, the green undersides of the leaves, with their small, fine veins, and the round red and gold shapes of the apples among them, and small triangles of blue sky between. The leaves are still wet. Every so often, a drop falls, not on you, only nearby, into the grass, with the smallest soft sound, a sound so quiet that you hear it only because the rest of the orchard is more quiet still. You let your hands rest in your lap. You let your shoulders go. The air about the bench is warm and green and full of the slow honey light, and the smell of the apples is close, and the smell of the wet grass is close. And somewhere not far off, a pigeon makes its low two-note call from the depth of a tree, and after a moment, another pigeon, very slow, very content, answers it from somewhere further on. A breath of warm air moves through the orchard. The leaves above you stir, gently, and a few last drops of rain fall, in a small, soft scatter, into the grass. One of them lands on the back of your hand. It is warm. You let it stay. After a moment, it slides down the inside of your wrist and is gone. A bee is at a fallen apple, somewhere near your foot. You can hear it before you see it. When you look down, there it is, the same kind of bee, soft and dark and round, settled on the warm cut side of an apple that has split open on a stone. It is very absorbed. It does not lift its head. The world, for this bee, has come down to one warm, sweet ridge of fruit, and that is enough. You watch it for a long while. The light in the orchard has begun, by very small degrees, to deepen. The honey has thickened, somehow. The shadows beneath the trees have grown a little softer, a little longer, a little more blue. The blue has begun, at the edge of the eye, to creep into the green of the leaves. The sun has not yet set. It is still warm on the brick wall behind you, and on the silver gray of your bench, and on the round shapes of the apples. But the orchard is preparing, in its own slow way, for the evening that will come. Somewhere far off, on the other side of the wall, a horse shifts in a stable. You hear the small wooden sound of a hoof against straw. You hear then the soft, long breath of the horse going out, a deep, contented sigh. The sound carries clearly through the warm, still air, and then is gone, and the horse, you know, has settled into a new position and is dozing, and the stable is dim and warm and full of the slow yellow smell of hay. You let yourself, on the bench, breathe in the same long way. The orchard breathes too. The leaves stir and rest. The apples ripen, slowly, in the slow last warmth of the day. A drop of water falls, somewhere, into the grass. After a long while, you become aware that the light has changed again. The honey has gone amber. The amber is going, very faintly, to pink, only along the very tops of the trees, where the last of the sun is touching them. The lower part of the orchard has gone to a soft watercolor blue, and the bench is in shadow now, and the apples in the grass are no longer warm to look at, but cool, and the white moth is sitting, motionless, somewhere on a long stem of grass, with its wings folded gently together. You do not get up. There is no hurry. The garden is in no hurry. The orchard is in no hurry. The pigeon, very far off now, has stopped its calling, and the bee at the fallen apple has, at some quiet moment, drifted away. A single apple, somewhere across the orchard, comes loose from its branch. You hear it fall. It is a small, dull, soft sound, a thump into wet grass, and then nothing more. No one is there to pick it up. It will lie where it has fallen, in the deep grass, and it will be warm tomorrow, and warmer still the day after. And slowly, in the slow way of orchards, it will give itself back to the place it came from. You close your eyes for a moment on the bench. The smell of apples and wet grass closes gently over you. The slow warmth of the brick wall holds the air still. Somewhere, very far away, on the other side of the house, the clock in the hall keeps its quiet, patient time, but you cannot hear it from here. Here, there is only the orchard and the soft last light, and the small sound of the world settling into evening. When you open your eyes again, the blue has deepened a little. A first faint star, perhaps, somewhere above the apple trees, in a patch of clear sky between the leaves. You cannot quite tell. It may be only the last bright drop on a leaf, holding the very last of the day. You decide it does not matter which. The orchard holds its breath, very softly, for the evening. The bench holds you. The wall, warm and quiet behind you, holds the day's long sunlight, and will give it back, slowly, all through the dusk. And somewhere out beyond the garden, beyond the wall, beyond the lawn, beyond the lake and the willow and the long, pale country, the whole soft world, in its own slow way, is folding itself toward night. The house breathes slowly in the dark. You are walking now, slowly, along a high, open path, and the country has changed once more. You do not remember leaving the orchard. Perhaps you rose at last from the wooden bench beneath the apple tree, and walked back through the small green door in the wall, and through the rose garden, and out by some further gate you had not noticed before. Perhaps the orchard simply opened, as dreams open, into somewhere else. It does not matter. The orchard is behind you now, with its bench and its bee and its softly fallen apples, and you have come out, by some quiet path, onto the moor. The light is the blue hour. The sun has gone, but the day has not yet gone with it. There is a long, pale band of gold still resting along the western horizon. Only a band, low down, the color of pale beer. And above it, the sky climbs slowly through every gentle shade of blue. From a quiet, honey blue at the bottom, to a soft, slate blue at the level of your eye, to a deep, slow lavender high overhead, where a first star or two have begun to think about appearing, and have not quite committed. The whole country has gone to a soft watercolor. You stand for a moment and let yourself see it. The path runs along a low rise. On either side of it, the moor spreads out, wide and gentle and undramatic, in long, slow folds that go on for as far as the eye can carry. There are no walls here, no hedges, no fields. Only the long, open land and the heather that covers it, and the soft, cool wind that moves across it without hurry. The heather is in bloom. It is the late, soft kind of bloom, past its first sharp purple, faded now to a quieter color, somewhere between mauve and the soft pink gray of the inside of a shell. It grows low, in dense, small bushes, and it covers the whole of the rolling land beneath you, so that the moor in the dusk looks like a great soft pelt, like the back of some enormous animal asleep beneath the sky. When a breath of wind moves over it, the heather stirs faintly, all together, in a long, slow ripple that you can see but cannot really hear. The path beneath your feet is narrow and earthy, and beaten smooth by many slow walkers over many slow years. The heather grows right up to its edge on either side, and now and then a long sprig of it leans across the path and brushes very gently against the side of your boot as you pass. The brush of the heather is light. It is the touch of something dry and feathery and unconcerned. You walk on. The wind is not strong tonight. It is not the wind one expects on a moor, not the sharp, lonely wind of bleak afternoons in old novels. Only a small, soft evening wind. The wind that comes out at this hour because the air has cooled, and the air has decided, in its long way, that it would like to move a little. It comes from somewhere behind your left shoulder, and it goes on across the heather in front of you, and you feel it pass the back of your neck as it goes, and after it has passed, the moor is a little quieter than before. The air on the moor smells of heather and of the cold, sweet smell of distance. You did not know, before this evening, that distance had a smell, but here, on the open ground, it does. It is the smell of air that has come a long way without meeting anything. It is the smell of cool grass and far stone, and a hint, somewhere very faint, of peat smoke from a fire that may be miles off. The smell is clean. It enters you slowly when you breathe. You walk on, along the path, in no particular direction. A curlew calls, somewhere far below you. It is a long, slow, falling sound, the kind of call that begins high and slips gently down through several soft notes and ends low. And then the curlew is silent, and the moor receives the silence the way the heather receives the wind. You stop for a moment and listen for the bird to call again. It does not. It does not need to. One call on a moor at this hour is enough. You walk on. The path is rising, very slightly. It climbs by easy degrees toward the soft, round shoulder of a low hill. As you climb, the country opens further behind you. You can see, when you turn, not turning fully, only a little, only enough, that the moor goes on for a long, long way back the way you came, fading into the soft dusk, and that there are no lights anywhere in that direction, only the long blue-gray land and the long blue-gray sky meeting it at some quiet, uncertain line. The hill before you is not high. You have nearly reached its crown. You walk the last few steps of the path slowly, and you come up over the soft rise, and you stop. Down in the small, wide valley below you, in the gathering dusk, there is a cottage. It is the only thing in the whole long view. It stands very small, very far below, in the soft fold of the valley where two slow slopes meet, beside what looks, from up here, like the dim silver line of a small stream. It is a low stone cottage, with thick walls and a slate roof that has settled, over the years, into the gentle hump of its own beams, and a chimney at one end. The chimney is thin. From it rises a long, slow line of smoke, the color of pale milk, going up straight in the still air for a great way before it begins, very faintly, to drift away. A single window of the cottage is lit. You can see it clearly from here, even at this distance, a small, warm square of orange light, the size of a coin held at arm's length, in the side of the dark stone. The lamp inside, or the fire, is the only point of warmth in the whole soft, cold country. And yet, it is enough. It is more than enough. It draws the eye and holds it, and the eye is glad to be held. You stand on the crown of the hill, and you look down at it for a long while. Around the cottage there is a low garden. You can just make out the shapes of it: a small square of cleared ground, a pale path running up to the door, a low stone wall enclosing the whole, only a wall as high as a child, the sort of wall that is not meant to keep anything out, but only to suggest gently where the garden ends. There is a small bush of something, rosemary perhaps, or a hardy late lavender, at the corner of the wall. There is a wooden bench beside the door of the cottage, weathered to the same silver as the bench in the orchard. There is the slow, soft hum of nothing happening. You begin to walk down. The path drops gently from the crown of the hill, winding between the heather, and as you go down, the air around you grows a little warmer. The moor having held the day's warmth in the bowl of the valley, where the cold has not yet had time to reach. The smell of the peat smoke grows clearer the further you descend. It is a quiet brown smell, soft and old and kind, the smell of a fire that has been burning slowly for hours, and means to burn slowly for hours more. You hear, very faintly, the small sound of the stream. It runs along the bottom of the valley, dark and slow, the way the stream that ran beside the coach in the second chapter ran, only smaller, only quieter, only more itself for being so far from any road. You cannot see it clearly yet from here. You can only hear it, that small, even murmur, the sound water makes when it is content with where it is going. The path comes down to the foot of the slope. You stop, just outside the low stone wall of the cottage garden. It is fully dusk now. The pale band of gold has thinned along the horizon. The blue overhead has deepened. The first true stars have come out, 3 or 4 of them, very small, very steady, and the cottage window glows warmer for the dark gathering around it. You stand at the wall, and you let yourself simply look. You do not go in. You will not go in. It is not that kind of cottage, and it is not that kind of evening. You are content, only, to look at the small lit window from the path outside, and to feel the soft, slow warmth of it across the cool air, and to know, without needing to see, what is inside. There is a fire. You know this because the color of the light at the window has the soft, slow shifting of firelight in it, not the steady yellow of a lamp alone. The fire is small. It has been burning, you think, since the late afternoon, since whoever lives here came back from wherever they were, and laid a few sticks across the embers of the morning, and added a little peat, and waited, in their slow, patient way, for the fire to find itself again. There is a kettle on the fire. You cannot hear it from here, but you simply know that it is there. A kettle has been set across the hot stones some time ago, and is keeping itself warm, and is making, every so often, the small, thoughtful sound that kettles make when they are not at the boil, but only meaning to be ready in case they are needed. There is a table. It is a small wooden table near the window. You can see, in your mind, the soft golden circle of lamplight spread across it. There is a plate on the table. There is a knife. There is a slice of bread, perhaps, and a small dish of butter. There is a chair pulled up to the table, and the chair has a cushion on it, slightly squashed in the seat, the way an old cushion is. Whoever lives here is sitting in the chair. You do not see them. They are not at the window. They are only there, in the warm, low room, quietly, doing some small evening thing, turning a page, or buttering a piece of bread, or simply sitting with their hands around a warm cup, looking into the fire, thinking of nothing in particular. The shape of their evening is the shape that all kind evenings have, in all small kind houses, everywhere. You stand at the wall, and you breathe out. The wind moves once more across the moor behind you, very gently, and the heather stirs in its slow, long ripple, and the smoke from the chimney bends, just a little, and is straightened again. Above the cottage, the sky has gone the deepest, soft blue. There are more stars now. You did not see them come, but they are there. Small, careful stars, set out across the moor's sky like stitches across a wide, dark cloth, each one a little point of quiet light, none of them in any hurry to shine more brightly than they do. A door opens somewhere inside the cottage, a soft, small wooden sound, and the firelight at the window flickers, very faintly. A shadow passes across the warm orange square. Then the door, you think, has closed again, in its own quiet time, and the shadow has gone, and the firelight has steadied, and whoever lives there has only crossed the room, perhaps, to fetch something they had forgotten, and now they have sat down again. The kettle, on its stones, makes its small, thoughtful sound. You begin, slowly, to turn away. You do not need to stay. The window will burn on without you. The fire will burn on without you. The kettle will keep its slow, even thought. The moor will keep its long blue distance, and the stars will go on settling out, one by one, across the soft, deep sky. You take a few steps back along the path. Behind you, the small lit window grows a little smaller, the way warm things grow smaller when you walk away from them, and then a little smaller still, and then you stop, once more, and you turn, and you look back. It is still there, the small, bright window, the thin, slow smoke, the quiet stone shoulder of the cottage in the dusk. You look at it for a long moment, the way one looks at a thing one will remember afterwards, and not know quite why. Then you turn again and walk on along the soft heather path, into the gentle blue. The moor breathes slowly in the dark. The path has come down off the moor. You did not feel it happen. You were walking, for a long while, along the soft heather path in the deepening blue, and the stars were settling out above you, and the small lit window of the cottage was somewhere far behind you in the bowl of the valley. And then, by some gentle turning of the way, the path was no longer on the moor at all. The heather had given out. The wind had quieted. The land had folded itself down around you, and the open sky had narrowed, and the cool blue distance had drawn closer in, and you had walked, without noticing, into a wood. It is a small wood. It is not the wood of an afternoon coach ride, with long slanted bars of light coming down between the oaks. It is an evening wood, a low, quiet, gathered wood, and the trees here grow close together, their dark trunks standing patiently, their leaves making a soft, thick canopy overhead, through which only a little of the blue still shows. There are old beeches, and one or two yews, and on the ground a deep, soft layer of leaves and moss that takes the sound of your footsteps and gives nothing back. The path is narrow. It winds gently between the trunks. You walk slowly. You could not, in this wood, walk in any other way. The whole place asks for slowness. The air is cool and still, and smells of moss and bark and the soft brown smell of last year's leaves. Somewhere, very far off, water is moving. Only a small drip, perhaps, off a stone, and beyond that, nothing. The wood is holding its breath, kindly, while you pass through it. The path turns once, then again, and then a third time, more gently than the others. And there, at the end of the path, in a small clearing among the close dark trees, you come upon the house. It is called Ferndean. You do not know how you know this. The name only comes to you, softly, the way names come in dreams, quiet, certain, not needing to be explained. Ferndean. The word is small and dark and green, and it suits the place. The house is low. That is the first thing about it. It is a low, small house, only 1 story high, and long rather than tall. Its walls are of old gray stone, and its roof is thatched, and the thatch has gone soft and uneven over many years, and moss has settled into the slopes of it in deep green patches. A chimney rises from one end, and from the chimney rises a thin, steady line of smoke, going up only a little way before it loses itself in the canopy above. There is a small porch over the door, only a slate slab held up on 2 wooden posts, and beneath the porch the door stands open. Not wide, only a little. Only the soft, slow inch that doors in this story have always opened to you. The light from inside falls out across the wet stone of the doorstep in a long, soft yellow stripe. You go up to the door, very quietly. You stand for a moment on the threshold. The smell of the house comes out to meet you. It is the smell of wood smoke and of beeswax and of something baking very slowly. A loaf of bread, perhaps, in a low oven, hours ago, so that the smell of it has cooled now into the kind smell of bread that is finished being made and is only resting. There is, behind these things, the smell of old wood, of beams that have held up this roof for 200 years, of floorboards that have known many quiet feet. You step in. The room inside is a parlour, low-ceilinged, lit by lamp and fire. A pair of oil lamps stand on a small dresser against one wall, their wicks turned low, casting a soft, round glow that does not reach the corners of the room. The corners of the room are not dark exactly, only dim, only restful, and the eye does not need to see into them. Above the dresser, a few pewter plates lean against the wood. Their dull, soft surfaces give back the lamplight as a kind of warm gray shine. The fire is in a deep stone hearth at the center of one wall. It is small. It has been small for some time now. The logs in it have settled into a comfortable bed of glowing embers, and one slow new log has been laid across them, and the new log has caught at one end and is burning very gently, with a single soft blue-yellow flame moving along its underside. The rest of the log is still dark, still waiting its turn. The fire is not in any hurry tonight. The fire has all the night ahead of it. Before the hearth, 2 old armchairs stand side by side. They are deep and soft and upholstered in a faded wine-colored velvet, worn at the arms to the color of dried rose petals. A small, low table sits between them. On the table, a single candle burns in a brass holder, the candle already half spent, its small flame leaning gently this way and that, without ever quite making up its mind. A book lies open, face down, on one of the chairs. Only that. Only a single open book, with a slip of green ribbon for a marker, laid face down across the soft red velvet of the seat, as though whoever was reading it has only stepped out of the room for a moment, to fetch a cup, perhaps, or to look out at the night, and will be back, quietly, before the candle has burned much further down. There is no one in the room. There may be someone in the house. You think there is. There is the sense of someone, the warm, soft sense one has, in a kind house, that the occupants are only just on the other side of a wall and would not at all mind your being here. But you do not see them. You will not see them. Ferndean is a house that keeps its inhabitants gently out of view. You go further in. The floor is of dark old boards. They give, very slightly beneath your feet. They make almost no sound. A rag rug lies before the hearth, woven in soft, uneven stripes of many faded colors, the kind of rug that has been on this floor for a very long time and has watched many quiet evenings in this room without comment. You go to the empty chair, the chair without the book, and you stand beside it. The chair is wide and deep, and the cushion is sagged a little in the seat. You sit. The velvet is warm to the touch. The chair receives you with the slow, easy patience of an old chair that has held many tired people and asks nothing of any of them. You let your hands rest, palm down, on the soft, worn arms. The fire is just at the right height before you. You can feel its warmth, low and even, against your knees, against the front of your shoulders, against your face. You can feel, behind you, the deep, soft holding of the chair back. You can hear, very faintly, the steady, slow tick of a clock somewhere in another room. Not the great hall clock of Thornfield, but a smaller, kinder clock. A clock that lives on a kitchen shelf and keeps its careful time for the bread and the kettle and the long, peaceful evenings of an old, quiet house. The candle on the small table leans and recovers and leans again. The flame on the slow log shifts, very gently, from blue-yellow to a deeper yellow and back again. You let your eyes rest on the fire. The embers below the new log are the color of dawn, a deep, dim orange red, with small, soft veins of brighter orange running through them. And they breathe, very slowly, in the way that good embers do. They brighten, almost imperceptibly, and then dim again, and then brighten, and then dim. The whole bed of them is a slow, soft tide of warmth. A piece of ash falls, very softly, with a small, clean sound. The new log shifts in its place by half an inch and settles. Somewhere outside the small, thick walls of Ferndean, somewhere out in the dark wood beyond, an owl calls. It is a low, soft, round sound, the hoo of an owl that is not in any way alarmed, only making the small, even sound that owls make to themselves on quiet nights when they are content. The sound carries softly through the cool, damp air outside and reaches you only faintly, through stone and beam and thatch, and then it is gone, and the owl is silent, and the wood is silent, and Ferndean is silent again, except for the soft, slow breath of the fire. You let yourself sink further into the chair. The warmth of the room is reaching, now, into the places of you that have been a long time getting warm. The cold of the moor has gone out of your shoulders. The damp of the wood path has gone out of your hands. The long, quiet wait of a long, quiet day has begun, slowly, to settle into the soft, wine-red velvet beneath you. And the velvet has begun, slowly, to take it. You watch the fire. You watch the slow blue flame moving along the underside of the new log. You watch the way the flame, every so often, lifts a little and then lowers itself again. You watch the embers breathe. The clock in the other room ticks softly. The candle leans. The fire shifts. The owl, far off in the wood, calls once and once again, more softly than before. Time, in the room, has begun to lose its shape. You could not say now how long you have been in this chair. It may be a few minutes. It may be an hour. The fire has burned a little lower, perhaps. The candle has gone down by a little finger's breadth in its brass cup. These are the only ways you know that time is still passing at all, and even these you notice only dimly, from somewhere far inside the slow, warm chair. The book on the other chair has not moved. It will not move tonight. Whoever was reading it has, you understand, gone on to other small kind things. A slow climb up a narrow stair, perhaps, somewhere out of sight. The carrying of a candle in a tin holder. The soft closing of a bedroom door. The book will rest on the chair until morning. The candle on the small table will burn itself out at some quiet hour, with no one watching. The fire will go on settling, gently, all the way down into ash. You let your eyes half close. The room, through your lashes, has become a soft thing. A low, slow glow of fire. A quiet glow of candle. The dim suggestion of pewter plates on a dresser. The soft, red velvet shape of the other chair. The long, uneven stripes of the rug in front of you. Everything is golden. Everything is round. Everything is warm. You let your eyes close. The fire is still there, even with your eyes closed. You can feel it, on the front of you, in a long, soft, even warmth. The chair is still there, behind you, soft and holding. The small, careful tick of the clock is still there, on its shelf in the other room, keeping its kind time for nothing in particular. A log settles, somewhere down in the embers, a small, soft sound. The owl, very far off now, gives one last quiet hoo into the dark and does not call again. Somewhere in the house, a door, very gently, very far away, closes. It is a small wooden sound, the smallest, kindest sound a door can make. The sound of a door closing only just enough to keep the warmth in. There is no one on either side of it that means anything in particular. The door has only closed because the night has come, and because doors, on nights like this, in old kind houses, close softly of their own accord. The candle on the small table has gone lower. The fire has gone lower. You are very far down now into the chair. The chair is very far down into the room, and the room is very far down into the small low house. And the small low house is very far down into the soft dark wood. And the soft dark wood is very far down into the long quiet country. And the long quiet country is very far down by now into the long quiet night. The clock ticks softly. The fire breathes softly. The candle leans and is still. Somewhere the door has closed. It does not need opening again. The night is long and warm and very slow, and there is nothing more for the night to do but go on being itself, gently, all the way through to morning, with no one needing to keep watch. The fire goes a little lower. The candle goes a little lower. The room goes a little softer. You are not in the chair now, in any way you can quite name. You are only somewhere warm, somewhere held, somewhere where the slow, soft breathing of an old kind house is going on around you without your having to do anything at all. The fire breathes. The clock ticks. The candle, after a long while, gutters once and goes out. The room, very gently, lets itself go to dark. And somewhere, beneath all of it, beneath the wood and the country and the long, dim night, something very old and very kind goes on, slowly, slowly, breathing in the dark.